Yeah, thanks for the opportunity for coming here today. I thought we'd, just some background and context. We put out a report, I think it was nearly 12 months ago, and we said that we thought that the managed account sector would reach 60 billion in FUA by 2020, and since then, we've spoken to a lot of leadership teams across the funds management space, different platform specialists, but that research and that analysis was really probably a decade in the making, to be honest. We sort of started looking at this sector quite closely through the mid 2000s, and through a few false starts, I guess, and sort of watching what was happening in the sector, the evolution, the challenger brands and new platforms coming into market. We've been observing and watching it. We've been watching the regulation changes, the changes in the digital environment and the ways in which customers want to deal with financial services. And probably 5 years ago, we hosted a Future of Financials Innovation, a Future of Platforms Forum, and following that, it became sort of relatively clear that we could see these trends really strongly emerging. But had we written that report, at that time, I don't think it would have delivered. So there's a lot of timing that goes involved and being at the right place, the right time, and we now think that we are beyond the tipping point in this sector and segment of the market, and in fact, the growth, if anything, we were dealing with what information we could access to formulate our view around the $60 billion number. But as I'm hearing more and more across the industry what's developing, I think the sort of $60 billion number probably will prove conservative. So I've got here, what I'm going to run through is just some, provide more context around how we're looking at the landscape and what's going on, which really sort of reinforces, I guess, highlights the structural support that we see continuing in this sector. I'll brush through a few of these quickly, but you can see here, regulations really hitting the road. We've finished with the MySuper, but we've got quite a substantial cleanup now of the I guess the accounts that are sitting there. There's still some old 27 million superannuation accounts, but only 12.5 million working Australians. The FOFO and best interest scrutiny there is really sort of again starting to bite hard across the sector. So the inference of many of the planners is that best interests is lowest cost and also open architecture. And so we're seeing a lot of the traditional retail players who should be getting good flows in this environment, really sort of lackluster in their growth across the market. The My Retirement opportunity, very nascent, but again a big one. But on the landscape really is changing, and I guess this is why we're seeing such mixed performance across the big incumbents. The way that they relate to their planners, the distribution models, the emergence of these new managed account platforms, whether they have capability to execute on that or not, and where they are on that journey is really shaping, I guess, the sort of configuration of many of the revenue pools across the market. Sort of, you've got your master trust, you've got your wraps, and you've got your managed accounts. We think that we're seeing some shifts within that. The major banks, in terms of their commitment to this segment, really quite mixed. Clearly, bank assurance hasn't delivered. There's a lot of uncertainty around whether you can use the data pools that you're sitting on to provide advice to your customers. Still some uncertainty around how ASIC will perceive that. Is that if you're capturing customers using that data, is that general advice or personal advice? What does that mean to your back book margins if you open it up? So a lot of to work through there, and I guess many questioning the portfolio from a portfolio perspective, whether they actually, how committed they are to wealth management, particularly ANZ, of course. The industry funds are really sort of, tearing along quite nicely, and we expect we'll see APA drive continuing consolidation in that segment. And as we do, there really sort of probably be the big eight, which capture probably 80% of the flow, and the remainder will probably be either sort of slowly dying or forming some sort of amalgamation with those that are left over. Retail super, we're saying, or the retail sector, growth is tougher. It's maturing. We've got the drawdown there of the pension customers as they're flowing through the demographics, and this sort of distribution mix, hurting them, whether they're going direct, whether the planners are still the force that they once were. Does institutional ownership of the planners drive the best outcome and productivity? So getting to the crux of it, really, we've sort of tried to summarise here a lot of the drivers of change that we're seeing in the market. And a lot of this does come through, we see the unbundling of intellectual property. We see technology continuing to evolve to make things easier to deal with, more transparent, improving capability. When you combine the sort of, the best interest and FOFA changes and a lot of these developments, things are certainly changing. And the one here, I think a lot of this is pretty simple. And it's a lot of this is sort of creating complexity to the large incumbents in terms of how they manage their business, where and how they want to compete across the value chain. But the one that we're really highlighting here is where we see these bottom three probably. The master trust we probably think will prevail for simple, super, mass market. But we see this complexity and pull here where the master trust or managed accounts become the play. And then you've got, in the old, sort of, I guess on that side of the screen where you're sort of playing through that thematic around the master trust prevailing, the dealer group being, distributor, the institutionally owned dealer group. But then, over here in this world, is the dealer group a distributor or is the dealer group the product packager? Which sort of flows through to this, bottom end game here around platform and product and packaging a product was generally seen as synonymous, largely just due to, I probably see it more as a function of legacy, incumbency and history of the structure of the industry. But when you look at it more along these lines, the dealer group is the packager and the platform as the execution engine. I'd say, look, where does the actual responsibility for, or where does the license sit for, at the end of the day, the dealer group carries the risk around the compliance and for distribution. Yet the equity value captured within the distribution engine relative to the product and platform is tiny. And that's just a function of, history. And if you, I'll get to it next, but this is just saying as a consequence of all this complexity, you can't look at the value chain how you historically used to. You've got to divide it into all these segments and define all the profit pool, all the revenue pools through all these different segments and work out where and how you want to compete. But if you look at the sort of traditional sort of value chain, it was really legacy and history and the evolution of platform that dictated, I guess, the flows across the market, both the share of value and where things sat. And, I guess FOFA really sort of changed that where, for the first time, the customer actually paid the planner and the planner wasn't paid for by the manufacturer. And this is the point where I'm, I guess, labouring a little bit, which is the dealer group carries the license risk, but the equity value generally historically sat in the product and platform engine. And these dealer groups are principally being run, particularly at an institutional level, as a margin on services business. They used to survive off the volume-based rebates, and now that's disappeared. So, I think it's just natural to think that, if you're reevaluating your business model, you're looking at the unbundling of IP, you're looking at the evolution of tech, we see the platform emerging to become, it's a service. And the platform is not the package or product. Now, this will create a lot of issues in the market in the sense that, if you look at BT, for example, and the investment that they've made in platforms, I think essentially most of the big retail players realise that they need a managed account capability. We'll see this model become tested, particularly among particularly among the IFA segment, right? So less of an issue amongst the institutionally owned guys will probably still maintain the status quo, but their share of the growth won't be coming through. And we can see that already. I think it was the March quarter plan for life. Probably someone will correct me on this, but I think it was 43% of the net flow was captured by Net Wealth and Hub. So these are big numbers, and these are small players capturing a large share of the market. I often get questioned, how did you come up with the $60 billion number? And I can see someone smiling at the moment who's questioned me on that recently. It was really quite simple, really. What we did is we said, look, sure, there might be 15,000 plus licensed advisors out there. There's probably 10,000 that are I guess worth their salt and doing active financial planners working to run a business. And then of that, we just took the top 10%, because the top 10% tend to migrate to the best mousetrap, what's the latest opportunity, and where we've got the nous and wherewithal to sort of figure out how they capture more value in their business. And if we just sort of went, well, over time, if we've got 1,000 planners, maybe 60 million in AUM, they dip their toe in, they've got some money elsewhere, it works, and then over time it starts, that's their current platform for where the active new clients are going, where the real new money in the system's coming. And then over time, as they become more comfortable with that, they start bringing over, where it makes sense, the client monies into that. And we got to 60 billion. What we didn't realise is that I think from the basis of that, the starting point for us was a lot lower. We thought the market was probably at about 12. It turns out the market's probably more, closer to probably 35. The data on that is still evolving, right, in terms of what we can see. But it would mean that our number of 60 billion is probably conservative. When we look at the evolution of the wrap market and the growth that had, over the decade to 2005, it grew at 50% CAGR year on year. So, when you do have these step changes and moves in the market, you can expect significant growth within sectors. So this isn't changing the overall growth within the market. This is just movements within segments of the market. So that's I think what people maybe initially thought was a stretch and maybe a bold number. There's nothing like throwing out a number to get people engaged. So it sort of had the right outcome, and we got a lot of feedback through that process. When we look at, so what does this mean for the retailers out there today? Retail flows, there's plenty of opportunity out there, but it's not an easy road. So we think that the thing within the retail segment is that particularly the guys who are big in the supermarket and have large incumbency, the emerging battleground is going to be, how do we, those 27 million accounts sitting there currently falls to maybe 18 million over the next 5 years. It's going to be a battleground around maintaining what you've got and holding share and all that sort of thing. So, that's they at the same time need to evolve and develop something in the managed account space, and to varying degrees, everyone has something there. Different players, have it fully integrated into the platform, either built on the latest technology or older. We think the SMSF remains an interesting segment. In fact, if I mean, when we first started looking at this market and saying, you know, it makes a lot of sense, transparency, beneficial ownership, tax efficiency, and people have been saying, well, but where's the growth in the managed account market? We're like, oh, it's actually the SMSF. Look at the SMSF, it's captured a lot of growth. Now, the SMS market, as it sort of matures, matures in the sense that all those people who are entitled to and probably should be in that structure, as that sort of, that sort of tailwind sort of holds, you know, you will see people within there migrate to a managed account solution to manage their model. So the fees we think will be maintain. This core satellite thing has still got a long way to run, and you know, in many respects, probably a managed account helps with that. We're probably maybe entering a new focus on fees because of the FOFO and the best interest in the open architecture and what that means. You know, we could be entering a new battleground. I know the industry funds are really frustrated with a lot of the, people running around with ETFs for 50 basis points and a life stage sort of portfolio. What they say is that, well, institutionally we should be able to offer that to our members for high single-digit basis points. So they don't want to see that get ahead of steam and the markets run away from them. So, we think that there could be, whilst a lot of them pride themselves on their active management, we think that we could see the emergence of some of the offers, the ETF balanced portfolio, institutionally offered to their clients at around high single digits. And so that'll create continuing, these dynamics are creating continuing fee pressure. Costs are an issue. Digitisation and all the work that they're doing should help with that, but it's a sort of bit of a merry-go-round. Pull out the bad costs and then invest as much as what you can to compete and get this growth, and particularly the acquisition costs and retention around this 27 million accounts as they go to sort of 18 over the next years. And if they don't do something about that, the regulators will. It was always the intention that the next stage post MySuper, if you go back to the early days of the Ripple review and everything else, was we've got too many accounts in the system, it's too costly, it's too complex, every account's getting charged insurance, etc. So, if it doesn't evolve, the ATO will have a click button feature that will allow you to do it. And the CapEx, so you've got sort of that rising CapEx envelope, and on this front, I think today more than ever we're getting closer to the point where platform is, question around platform as a utility as opposed to platform as a product, right? So it changes the whole nature of that. And if you go back and we think about it and we say, well, what did platforms actually originally, part of the existence of platforms was very much around consolidated reporting, choice, of different asset classes and access, and payment to the planners. So the way the product manufacturer could pay the planners. So we've had that one unwind. Choice, you get a lot of choice today through listed vehicles, ETMFs, different asset classes that are listed in as well. So there's a lot of competing ways in which you can get access to things, either via M funds, beta shares, or whoever. So this is, and if we do see the market evolve to where the platform becomes one of execution and not one as product packager, then that will only further drive the market towards the utility offering. So what do large-scale players need to win? So, there's a lot of strategic, and this is the problem, right? So when you start looking at wealth management today, the glory days of being able to sit there and just, the money comes through the door and, it's all quite simple and we can have lots of fun. It's it's a lot harder, right? So, you think about, we've sort of listed here what we see as strategic assets and capabilities needed to win, right? So if you're an at-scale, large player in the market, you need to be, you sort of need some multi-boutique front end to be able to capture sort of the high end of it. You need some, employed planners to look after the low balance accounts because no one wants to touch them, and the ASICs running around with a barrier to sort of hit anyone who's getting charged advice who isn't actually receiving it. People want direct shares, they want managed funds. You need to be able to, there's a sort of suite, I won't go through them all here, of things that you need. And then you need to be able to package them in a way that sort of optimises value within your business without creating the conflicts and unlocking legacy profitability in the business. So there's a lot here that we see as being challenging, and therein lies, I guess, the opportunity for the boutique, and that's where trying to be all things to all people is hard, and I think the boutique probably ends up coming out. There's a lot of opportunity for the boutique. So I think that's. I'm not sure how I'm going for time, but I think I'll open it up to Q&A. And but in summary, I think this is quite a big opportunity. We see points of change in either cycles or times when technology and business models converge, and you get a run and a network, potentially network effect. And as the success of the model and as more planners demonstrate and show the equity value of their practice has improved, as more dealer groups stand up and say this is the sort of future, you will increasingly get more big brands coming into and providing the packaged solutions or that help facilitate the unbundling of that IP. BlackRock could walk in and say to a dealer group, here's our view of the model portfolio and where you should have your SAA, and here's our TAA overlay, and that's sort of part and parcel, and then different other service providers, Mercers and others, all can play like they traditionally maybe played to the institutional market. So I'll leave it there and take any questions.
Yep.
And I've got a question, which is to your area of to your observations about the value that then accrues to the types of activities that listed, but to which financial services companies are undertaking. Do you have a view that, for example, the value accruing to operating a platform will fall, the value accruing to being an investment manager will rise, or the value accruing to having that direct advice relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's essentially what you're seeing is the value being unlocked and sort of coming to the fore at the front end of the value chain, right? So I think that's probably pretty normal in any industry over time. But we would have, I guess, under a sort of more of an execution-only type model on the platform space, trying to 15 to 20 basis points is maybe where that probably sits, and then the sort of unlock of value into the dealer group, with an investment committee and the sort of portfolio construction, everything else, 30 to 50 basis points depending on what they do. For the asset managers, it's actually, I think it's probably broadly, in many respects, broadly unchanged from today. The institutional markets squeeze them very hard. It's sort of similar, but a higher return because they're sort of getting paid for their intellectual property, right? So it's a leap of faith a lot of them have got to make that the intellectual property remains secure, but the actual return on your intellectual property is greater because all the unit pricing and the registry and everything else is not sitting in your business.